AT&T Stadium.
Anything that moves between these lines, gotta get dealt with.
10, 5, and he streaks in. Deep to the post to Lamb. At the 5, to the goal line.
Dallas Cowboys Game Night is presented by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
Shot for the lead, it's McLaurin! He's got it! Washington is in front!
The 2024 Dallas Cowboys season comes to a close, 29-19, the final score, as the Cowboys fall to 7-10, and their season comes to an end at AT&T Stadium. Dan Quinn and the Washington Commanders get revenge after a crazy finish earlier in the season in Week 12. They have a crazy finish and a last-second touchdown to Terry McLaurin to give the Commanders the win in Arlington. Welcome into Cowboys Game Night. I'm your host, Kyleyman. Let's see how this one unfolded. It was the first start for Trey Lance and company since Week 2 of 2022. He was behind center instead of Cooper Rush to begin. Micah Parsons entered the game needing a half sack to become the fourth player to have 10 sacks in his first 4 seasons. He got half a sack on the first snap from scrimmage. Then he followed it up with a little safekeeping. Good measure. He gets another one. He finishes with 2.5 sacks. Dallas led by 3 after the first quarter. They would add another field goal at the beginning of the second. Brandon Aubrey's field goal here, giving him a record in order to most field goals in terms of the Cowboys' regular single season record. He breaks his own record moving forward. Washington trying to get their groove on offense. Cliff Kingsbury dials up some trickery. A wide receiver pass to another wide receiver who drops it in the end zone. Zaccheaus can't hold on, never really saw it. An unfortunate break for Washington. They had to settle for a field goal. Final moments of the second, Trey Lance had the Cowboys on the doorstep. 4th and goal, rolling out of pressure, had Rico Dowdle. He misses him. Oh no, Rico Dowdle had a chance, waving for the rock. A missed throw from Lance, just didn't put the touch on it. Incomplete. Dallas turnover on downs. They would lead it 6-3 at the half. Commanders would come out firing in the third quarter behind backup Marcus Mariota. Opening drive of the frame. A toss up to Zaccheaus. A little redemption from the wideout. 30 yards inside the 5-yard line go to the Commanders. Next play, Zach Ertz rumbles into the end zone as he's done many times throughout his career against the Cowboys. Trailing for the first time at 10-9, the red zone struggles that plagued the Cowboys in the first half would continue in the second half. Jake Ferguson thought he got a foot down. He did not. 3rd down and goal. They locked it to Brandon Cooks. He can't drag a foot. There was a flag anyways. Dallas with another field goal. They lead it by 2, but Marcus Mariota continued his performance in the second half. Dives for the end zone. His second touchdown overall. The passing score, now a rushing score. Dallas would retake the lead with 7 minutes to play with Rico Dowdle's second touchdown of the regular season. But it wasn't over for Washington. 4th and 1. A read option goes for 33 yards. Now Marcus Mariota again in the Dallas red zone. Instead of kicking a field goal to go to OT, they give it to Terry McLaurin. His catch over the top of Deron Bland, able to secure possession, gets down in bounds. And that was enough for Dan Quinn and the Washington Commanders to hold on and win it. 23-19, the final score. Mike McCarthy handshakes at midfield with Cliff Kingsbury and the entire Commanders coaching staff. Still lots of respect for Dan Quinn, but could it be the final game for Mike McCarthy as the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, as we have the final stats brought to you by Miller Lite. Now, of course, being on Cowboys Game Night, we get the opportunity to welcome in Isaiah Stanback. Lots of decisions to be had, but one thing is for certain, this Cowboys team fought all the way up until the very end.
They definitely did that. And a lot of that credit goes to Coach McCarthy and what he's been able to do throughout the year, overcoming the adversity, overcoming the different, obviously the losses, overcoming the injuries, and keeping this team together. Never once did you see this organization and this locker room turn on each other. You didn't see these guys pointing fingers. You didn't see them calling each other out in the media. You didn't see any of those underlying issues. This team held it together, and no matter how bad they may have lost in these games, no matter how much they might have won by, these guys competed in every single game, and that's all that you can ask for from this regime.
And even in a game like this, where there was no playoff hope for Dallas going into it, of course, Washington was playing for better seeding in the NFC playoff picture. Still a lot of film to break down. Trey Lance is a big part of that. When we come back, we're going to talk about Trey Lance and some of the pocket presence and the way he was throwing the football around. There were some good things from the former top 5 pick. We'll talk about Trey Lance heading into the film room when we come back with more Cowboys Game Night.
This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Now Lance, they're dropping him back. He rifles down the middle and connects with the speedy Kevontae Turpin. Down inside the 25 of Washington, a big play through the air. So 64 yards in the last 2 plays.
Cowboys were hoping to get involved in this offense earlier in the season. Trey Lance, Kevontae Turpin connecting early in the campaign. 23-19 was the final score as Washington takes down Dallas. Isaiah, you've wanted to see Trey Lance as well have some success at the quarterback position, at least opportunity. We saw the opportunity today. How did he do?
I think he did okay. And I think a lot of people were looking to see, was he going to be the same guy that we saw in the preseason with the 5 interceptions? No interceptions. Also no touchdowns. But let's take a look at some of the good that took place today. This is on the first drive, okay? And there's a number of good things that took place outside of Trey Lance, but he was a part of it. This offensive line, these guys up front did an amazing job. And understand this, they have 2 goons in the middle. These guys do a great job in the middle defensively for the Washington Commanders, and this offensive line gave Trey Lance a chance. Let's go ahead and take a look at another person that you guys need to be paying attention to. Mr. Kevontae Turpin, one of the most explosive individuals in the league, just not necessarily at the receiver position, but he has potential. Let's go ahead and run the play real quick. Boom, ball is snap, 5 guys up front, pause it right there. 5 guys up front, 5 guys getting blocked. All these guys are being taken care of. And when those guys are taken care of, now the quarterback has an opportunity to sit back here and survey exactly what's going on. What is going on? Well, Kevontae Turpin is saying, thank you very much. I have inside technique, and now I have inside technique. I can take this thing behind the second-level defenders and get the rock. But look at the velocity on this throw. Throwing it from the 35, under pressure, throws an absolute dart to Kevontae Turpin, and now Kevontae Turpin can do Kevontae Turpin things, and that is catch the ball and run for some yak yardage. Not only was there great blocking, there was a great job by Trey Lance sitting in the pocket and then throwing the dart and getting in the hands of your playmakers. That's a good play by all those guys on there.
I like how on the TV broadcast, you heard it coming back into the segment, the fact that Adam Amin says rifles one over the middle. Yeah. We didn't hear that a lot with Cooper Rush, rifling a ball over the middle and having a completion that deep down the field. Really, it was a good job by Trey Lance having pocket presence, a little pressure there from Guyton. That'll be a conversation going into the offseason. Do you think it's enough to bring a guy like Trey Lance back into the fold?
You know, if I'm making decisions,
he's an unrestricted free agent.
He's an unrestricted free agent. So are the rest of the 3 quarterbacks outside of Dak Prescott. All those guys are gone, to my understanding. But the thing is, Trey Lance has the intangibles that you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot coach, right? He has the size. Can't coach that, okay? He has the speed. Definitely can't coach that, all right? This dude has a cannon of an arm, okay? He has all those intangibles. All he needs is continued reps, which coaches can control, and he needs coaching, which they obviously can control. If he gets those things applied to what his intangibles are, he will be one heck of a quarterback because as you see in that opening 15 right there, he was able to sit back there with time, eyes down the field, and drive the ball to a playmaker and allow for him to do what he does best. If you can continue to build upon those things, regardless if it's here or somewhere else, he's going to be one heck of a player in this league. I hope that it's here in Dallas.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting conversation. Contract talks, what that number is going to look like. $5 million this past year. What is it going to look like from a team moving forward? Despite just having the one game, it was enough, and it was impressive to show teams moving forward what that number could look like. That timing, too. If you can get the timing down, it's going to be interesting. More Cowboys game night and a coaching decision looming in Dallas. Could Mike McCarthy be on his way back or on his way out?
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
And now his defense looking for yet another red zone stop. It is
Cowboys needed to have some success in the red zone. They found it with Rico Dowdle, just his second rushing touchdown of the year. But what a season for Dowdle. Back alongside Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeomans. There are some decisions to be made from a coaching standpoint, a player personnel standpoint, but it all starts with Mike McCarthy moving forward. This is going to be the conversation until a decision is made, plain and simple. But based off of what you've heard from McCarthy, what you've heard from the Jones family, what are your ideals whenever it comes to this decision moving forward?
Yeah, I think they've held this close to their chest. They need to play poker because nobody understands exactly what direction they're going in. But what I can say is that Coach McCarthy has done enough, in my opinion, to warrant another contract with the Dallas Cowboys. You look at what he's overcame. He came into this team, into this organization during COVID, the hardest time most likely in the NFL's history, and what he did to continue to have those guys moving forward with a new regime. And then he followed that season up by 3 consecutive 12-win seasons. Not something that you can just wake up and do. That's building a culture. That's building a winning culture. And then he lost his defensive coordinator. Right? He brought in a new defensive coordinator, came back this year, had to try to install that while losing majority of your all-pro and all of your Pro Bowlers on your roster. He did a heck of a job maintaining all that, and I think that he should be having another opportunity going forward as a Dallas Cowboys head coach.
And that's the decision that a lot of players have voiced their opinions for. The majority of the people against that decision would be from a fan base standpoint, and there's some frustration there because of the lack of playoff success. Yeah. And if you want to win that's what your ultimate goal is. A lot of fans think Mike McCarthy's not the one to go get a Lombardi trophy.
See, but the thing is, and respectfully, in order to be in a position to win one of those, you have to be in the playoffs. So regardless of what happens to you in the playoffs, I'd rather know that we're continuously and consistently going to be in a position to chase a Lombardi, right? If you don't win those games, if you're not winning 12-game seasons like he did 3 times here, like he's the most regular season winning coach in Dallas Cowboys history since Barry Switzer. Understand that. It's been a very long time. There's been a lot of head coaches since then. He's the most winning coach in the regular season. So he's putting you in a position to get to the playoffs. And if you're not in the playoffs, you don't have a chance to win this trophy. Trust me, you have to have a chance.
And nobody's just going to go up to you and hand it over.
No.
You got to go take it yourself.
I like these.
And go make it happen. You got one of your own. There you go. How about that? All right, more Cowboys game night coming up right after this. Cowboys saw some more from Micah Parsons. 12 sacks on the season in just 13 games. How was he successful against Washington today?
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
In the league in just 8 weeks, they've really turned it on.
Blitz coming against Daniels, though, and he's going to get wrapped up by Parsons again. Micah Parsons.
Well, Micah Parsons, he said, I need a half sack. He said, I got it on the first snap. Let me go ahead and, for good measure, make sure that it was more than a half sack, so that way I can end up. He finished with 2.5 on the day, another multi-sack game for Micah Parsons. Finishes with 12 on the season in 13 games. Isaiah, I want you to break down the film. What made him successful again as a pass rusher for the Cowboys, and how can they continue to build on it?
Well, first of all, Micah Parsons is a Lion, all right? And Lions, they compete, all right, every single day. He didn't have to play the whole game. But he did. He chose to do so anyway. But he went ahead and got 2.5 sacks. I'm going to show you guys what happened on this first drive. And I feel as if, this is a feeling that I have, that Coach Zimmer was going ahead and giving a little tip of the hat across the way to Coach Quinn, because this is definitely a Dan Quinn type of lineup. Now, look at this. You have a defensive end lined up over a tackle. You have Mozzie Smith over here lined up over the guard, okay? These guys are in wide 5 techniques, okay? You have Maris Leofau lined up all the way out here, and you also have a DN out here. Now, what does that leave? That leaves your center, okay? Your center, all right, for the Washington Commanders against Micah Parsons right here. That looks a little bit familiar, right? One-on-one, Micah Parsons versus your least athletic offensive lineman. It works out just great, because once these guys go wide, right, now these guys have to turn out. And once those guys turn out and turn out and turn out, there is nobody to help who? This center who has to be responsible for Micah Parsons. So as we hit this play button, you guys will see this play out. Okay, I want you guys to pause it right after the snap. Boom, pause. Okay, you guys see it right now. As soon as these guys go out here, look at the eyes of the offensive linemen. The offensive linemen are now turning out, turning out. I'm turning out, I'm turning out. You, sir, right here in the middle, you're all by yourself, okay? You are literally by yourself with one of the most athletic guys to ever play this game. Good luck. I'm going to throw that arm right to the side, and I'm going to hunt because I am the lion. Come on down here, Mr. Jaden. You are mine, and go ahead and crawl all over the place. That dude is an absolute beast. He went ahead and got those 2.5 sacks like Kyle said. He didn't have to play the whole game, but he did because he's a leader, and he's a leader of that D-line.
And he's starting to step up in a big way in that regard, and that's something that growth-wise, yes, he played well in the latter parts of the season, something to take note of. But it was also the fact that he stepped up in multiple ways and helped other guys around him have success. You saw there, by the way, that was not Micah Parsons, or excuse me, that was not Tyler Biotish at the center. He did not play today. He was inactive for Washington. But the guys around him, Mazi Smith being one, have taken a step forward. How much has Micah had an impact on those?
Huge. You go all the way back to training camp, and when you look at the one-on-one opportunities, when you have your position groups, right? You spend a lot of time in training camp with your position groups. Micah Parsons took it upon himself to come into this season and work on his leadership, and he did that by taking Mazi Smith under his wing. He literally spent a lot of time with him, coaching him up, talking to him, mentoring him, showing him the way. But he was that sounding board for Mazi Smith and that ear of wisdom for him throughout the season. And you saw Mazi Smith's game improve. I'm not going to say that Micah Parsons was the only reason why. They added some other really good pieces in the coaching staff in terms of like Greg Ellis and guys of that nature that I'm sure had a part in it. But Micah Parsons was a great leader. And a lot of times as a young player who with a lot of high expectations and you have early struggles, you need a veteran, accomplished player who believes in you. And that's exactly what Micah Parsons was for Mazi Smith.
Despite some injuries sprinkled through the starters of that defense, the defense outside of the Philadelphia game in Week 17 was one of the best defenses in football in the back half of the season. That's something significant to build on moving into next year. When we come back, it was a great year for a lot of reasons in the Dallas Cowboys organization, just not in terms of winning. They finish at 7-10. We'll talk about our final thoughts on the campaign with Stand Back Stance when we come back.
To watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Dallas Cowboys Game Night was presented by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
23-19, the Cowboys fall to the Commanders as each team splits. Dallas finishes at 3-3 inside the NFC East, but they were 7-10 overall in the 2024 season. Now a long season full of decisions set to begin for Jerry Jones, the Cowboys front office, and really everyone underneath the Cowboys front office from this point forward. Wrapping up Cowboys Game Night alongside Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Your final thoughts and Stanback stance going into the offseason. What does this 2024 season have as a lasting legacy?
Lasting legacy, this is a team that competed, and it competed hard, right? These guys showed up to work. They stayed tight. They stayed collective. They did not turn on each other, and that says a lot about this organization and about the leadership of Coach McCarthy. Now, as you go to the offseason, change is inevitable. Cannot stop that at all. Whether that comes in the form of Coach McCarthy coming back, most likely his entire staff will not come back. Players won't come back. You have 26 free agents. Those guys won't. The draft happens. New players come in. Things happen. Things change. If Coach McCarthy does not come back, you still are going to have a ton of change in terms of personnel, in terms of coaching, all the things. You need to get your coach. You need to sign Will McClay. Get ready. It's going to be a crazy offseason.
Yeah, buckle up, everyone, and we've got you covered on DallasCowboys.com all the way through the Cowboys offseason. Download the Cowboys Now app to keep up to date for every storyline, including what's to come over the next few weeks. For Isaiah Stanback and our entire crew, we'll see you next time with more Cowboys Game Night.